All right. Hello, good morning, good evening, and good night. I hope you guys are doing absolutely fantastic because today what we're going to be talking about is one of my portfolios. We're going to be talking about my Questrade portfolio once again. The reason being is because in this portfolio, we hold three funds. Actually, sorry, we hold two funds. We hold YMAX and we hold not TSLY, but we hold SPXS. And the reason why we hold these two funds is because YMAX, I believe, somewhat mimics the S&P 500 and produces close to a 40% dividend yield. And the other fund that we hold is SPXS, which is a 3 times bear on the S&P 500. And today what I want to do is I want to compare how it's performing in my portfolio. And I also want to talk a little bit about why exactly I invest in Yieldmax over, for example, the S&P 500. Currently, this is a test. This is not like a extremely long-term proven strategy. This is something that I'm currently trying in my dividend portfolio. It's something that I'm trying on this channel, and I'm showing and sharing my kind of investment journey with you guys. And what is very exciting is we're about to receive our first dividend from Yieldmax and from YMAX, rather, not Yieldmax, because we have a lot of Yieldmax investments in our other portfolios, but YMAX in our current Questrade portfolio, this will be the first. So what I want to talk about in this video is how exactly YMAX has performed in comparison to the S&P 500. We're going to use our calculator and we are going to calculate some percents. And I also want to talk about how SPXS has performed, the 3 times bear has performed in terms of relation to YMAX. So if that does sound good, we're up to 5,305 subscribers, 230 subscribers in the past 28 days. That is fantastic. And without further ado, let's get into this video. So currently, let's go to my Questrade because that'll tell me a little bit more. My portfolio, this is not accurate. I think this isn't accurate because I added about $1,500 more to my portfolio, but really my portfolio should be down about 3% or so. This is due to the fact that YMAX, the fund, has actually trended down since what I bought it. My average price here, you could see, is $19.62, but we are currently sitting at a share price of $18.95. Now, YMAX did pay out a dividend, which was 65 cents. It hasn't paid it yet, though, so it's only taken it out of the current share price. If we went to the current share price, which is $18.95, and we added 0.65, which was the dividend, it equates to a share price of about $19.60, which is very close to our break-even price point, our average price. But today what I do want to talk about is I want to talk a little bit about how YMAX has been performing in comparison to the S&P 500, ticker symbol SPY. And the reason being is because really I bought YMAX to match the S&P 500 or have a fund that matches somewhat to the S&P 500 while still paying a huge dividend yield. Now what I want to do is I want to take YMAX over the past little while. Now, in order to calculate this to the true effect, we need to subtract the dividend that YMAX paid out. So we'll go to 2017 as our number here, and just bear with me, 20.17. And what I want to do is subtract the dividend paid out, because with that dividend paid out, that is going to show us the true performance of YMAX. Now we are going to divide it by our current share price of $18.95. So I'm going to go divide $18.95. Boom. So when we subtract 1 from here, this is the total percent that YMAX has actually decreased. It's decreased about 3% flat over the course that I have owned this stock. Now, what I want to do is I want to show you as well the decrease in the S&P 500 over the exact same period. So we're going to take a similar time frame, which is $562, keeping our current percent that YMAX has trended down lately was about 3%. We're going to take the S&P 500 and the current share price is $552. So divided by 552, take our number here and we are going to subtract by 1. So you can see in the exact same time frame, YMAX has trended down roughly 3% and the S&P 500 about 1.8%. So you can see here YMAX has trended down stronger. Of course, this could be due to the fact that the S&P 500 consists of 500 of the strongest companies in the US stock market. YMAX is only made up of about 20 different companies that range from Sony, which is a whole bunch of different things, for example, they also have a Bitcoin ETF. They have SQY, which is kind of in the financial industry. They're almost like a small Visa company, but YMAX holds a bunch of different little companies, and things such as Bitcoin being one of them. The stock price of Bitcoin, or the share price of Bitcoin, whatever you can call it, is also affecting YMAX. So it's not only stocks that affect YMAX, but different commodities too. And one thing to keep in mind is we're also holding our YMAX position to the S&P 500 3 times bear. So in our portfolio here, we kind of hold about a, this is kind of incorrect here just because it had cash. It's about 80% for YMAX and 20% for the SPXS. And I wanted to go a little lighter on SPXS just because I do think over time the S&P 500 does trend up, as it's done from its previous price history, which I do think will in the long term have YMAX trending up as well, or at least staying consistent, because it does pay out a 40% dividend. And the whole reason with this is if it's able to kind of match the returns of the S&P 500 with the dividends being paid out, we should be able to compound our money a lot better with YMAX. And that is really the reason that I bought it. But let's see how it's performing in comparison to SPXS. So when I bring up my portfolio here, you can see that I'm actually down overall about $25 or so with SPXS, and I'm down about $90 in YMAX. So SPXS, it is true that in this time the S&P 500 has trended up quite a bit, and what we do have to keep in mind here for a portfolio is that YMAX has also excluded the dividend. So it's taken the dividend out of its share price, but it has not paid me that back in cash yet, and that's why my account sits so low. Really, I do think we're down about $100 in this account so far. So we are down, even though the S&P 500 has trended up, YMAX has trended up, but the past few days have been hit hard, as we've seen with the S&P 500 trending down about 77 points or 77%, and YMAX trending down about 1.35%. But one thing I do want to mention just before we end this video, and why I so strongly do like YMAX, is because in this trading day today, you can see Coney down 6.25%, SNOY down about almost 4%, 3.8%, and SQY down about 2.9%. Now, it wasn't all bad for the Yieldmax funds today. We did have NVDY go up about 2.5%, but on the majority here, we had the Yieldmax funds trending down heavy today. But what did YMAX do? It didn't trend down that heavy, and that's because it's diversified across all the Yieldmax funds, only down about 1.35%, which compared to some funds, like I'm invested in SQY as well, we're looking at a 3% hit on the day. That's about half the volatility that we're seeing here in YMAX, which is fantastic. And that's why I want to hold a lot more of my money in YMAX, because I want to reduce a lot of that volatility while still having a huge dividend, which I believe we're doing. And we're going to let this play out and see how it goes. So if you guys enjoyed this video, we're up to 5,305 subscribers. I hope it provided you with some value, just kind of in terms of showing you how YMAX has performed in terms of the S&P 500, just a comparison there, and then also how SPXS is slowly hanging in there, but it's not really keeping up. And so in terms of this, I think I'm going to go a little bit heavier on YMAX and look to hold back on the SPXS fund for now. So that's what I'm doing with my portfolio. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys do stick around, and I hope to see you guys in the next video.